So the big question is, how do entrepreneurs like us, who built our businesses from the ground up, who spend our own capital, who want to make a huge impact on this world while creating a great income? Those are the questions we will answer in this podcast. My name is David Asarno, and welcome to Get Naked in Business. I'm glad you're here. Now it's time to get naked. What do mowing lawns, raking leaves, and shoveling driveways have to do with building a $100 million a year entrepreneurial venture? Everything. Today's guest, Dave Woodward, is the CEO of Clickfunnels. He has helped the company go from zero to over $100 million in revenue in less than 5 years with zero venture capital funding. I'm so excited for you to hear the insights that Dave has to share. Hey, this is Dave Asarno. I am so excited because today we have someone as our guest that I totally respect. I've gotten to know Dave Woodward over the past 4 to 5 years through Clickfunnels. Now, Dave is the Chief Revenue Officer with Clickfunnels, and you've been here since the beginning, right, Dave?
Yeah, yes, it's been fun. It's been a great ride.
Well, I remember the first time we met. However, when I went through ClickFunnels certification, I remember you sitting as you're facing front of the you were sitting in the back row, top right. You were doing some things. You were doing some things for Russell back then. And but seriously, I sat down, and that's really when I got to know you. So I want to say welcome, and I want to acknowledge you and congratulate you on all the success over the past several years.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. Had a great time.
So I have a question for you. I want to go way back, and I'm talking way back. What is the first thing you ever recall doing in your life to make money? And I'll give you an example. For me, it was raking leaves.
For me, actually, it was selling candy in the 5th grade. Basically, I went down to like a 7-Eleven type of thing and bought some candy and sold it in school and got sent to the principal's office for doing it.
Your first day you got busted.
I got busted. Yep.
How much did you make before you got busted?
Gosh, I can't even remember. Probably 10, 15 bucks, something like that.
Oh, that's pretty good in the 5th grade.
Yeah.
When you look back, and what was the first job that you got?
My first job probably would have been a paper route. I had 2 paper routes. Probably about that same period of time, actually. So my first job would have been a paper route.
What made you, when you look back on it now and you think about it, what inspired you? Why did you feel that you needed to go out there and sell candy or get a paper route?
I was always, my parents, again, I grew up middle class, but money was always pretty tight. And I knew if I ever wanted to do anything, it was going to be up to me to find a way to make that happen. So if I wanted to go to the movies or anything else, it was you had to find a way of making it happen. So I just made sure I found a way.
Thank you for sharing that. And there's a lot of us who grew up in a very similar type format. And if we wanted something, if we wanted a bike, if we wanted a candy bar, we just had to go out and find the way to make the money to do it. It just wasn't handed. It's so funny when we look today where we are, and I don't know about you, my kids didn't have to do the exact same thing.
Mine are very much like yours.
So here's a question. What did you learn from that paper route?
Oh my gosh. I learned so much from that paper route. I had 2 of them at the same time. I had a morning one and an afternoon one, again, trying to make some money. I grew up in Washington, Seattle, Washington. So I remember throwing papers in the rain, having to put them in bags, and riding a bike with a bag over my shoulder and a bag over the back. I don't know how the bike even stayed. I mean, I may be wet. Might have weighed 75 pounds, but it was just, I remember it taught me responsibility. I hated having to go and collect and ask people for money, even though they already owed me money and they'd agreed to it. But I knew if I didn't collect, I didn't get paid. And so it taught me very quickly the importance of doing something responsibility on a regular basis, and then being able to talk to people and ask for money at a very early age.
Did you ever have, because I did paper route as well, and I remember when you were doing that, I was getting the flashback of, remember that the canvas bag that they used to get?
Yes. Oh yes.
And did you have anyone? I remember there were certain people I'd go and they're like, well, I don't have the money this week, and it was probably only like 70 cents or whatever.
Yeah. I'm like, what do you mean? Why are you ordering the paper if you don't have the money? It made no sense to me. I'm like, this isn't like a necessity in your life. If you don't have the money, then don't do this. But it was always made me feel awkward when they didn't have the money, because I had to come back another time and had to ask them for money. And it was I remember that. That was a tough situation.
Yeah. And I'm asking these questions.
I've thought about this for like forever. It's been a long time since I thought about these days.
Well, I'm bringing it up because the more I talk to entrepreneurs, when I go back to where they started, there's always something that triggered them, that started that thought process. And, people who are internally self-motivated because they want something, they're willing to create it. Many times this happened and we don't even realize it happened sometime earlier in our life, and we don't know what the trigger or the event was. And I just think it's really interesting. Now, growing up, who was your biggest mentor that you had?
Gosh, someone asked me that the other day. Growing up, I think growing up, it probably was my mom. Mm-hmm. I think I was never as close to my dad as I always wanted to be. And so it wasn't as much of a male role model there. My mom was, and still is to this day, was my best friend. She was my confidant. She was the person she had all the hope in the world, and she instilled so much hope and so much belief in me as a kid that there was nothing in the world. I mean, Superman had nothing on me growing up. I mean, it was just, I knew that no matter whatever I wanted to do, she always made sure I could make that happen.
And I can tell you have a really close relationship with your kids. So obviously that's important to you as well.
It is the most important thing. There's nothing more important in my life than that.
Yeah. The family. I mean, family is the most important thing. Now you've done a lot of things besides now, being here on the giant growth path of Clickfunnels. What did you do in your 20s or 30s that helped prepare you and lead you up to this point?
So I went to Brigham Young University. I got a master's degree in exercise physiology, was accepted to medical school, was supposed to go. And literally the week before I was supposed to go, I bailed out of it. I just decided it wasn't what I wanted long-term, again, primarily for family. So I then did some postgraduate work in physical therapy and then left that and just got married. My wife now of over 25 years, and started working with her brother-in-law, or my brother-in-law, her brother. And at that time was selling employee benefits. We were in Texas, Austin area, and literally drove throughout the hill country selling primarily at that time, as a lot of employee benefits to school teachers and things. And I think you learn a lot in selling, that as far as just how to communicate, how to talk to people, how to overcome objections. And I think that in life, that's one of the most important things, is you've got to be able to, so many people have their own path and things they want to make sure they get accomplished. And you have to involve other people in those paths. Yeah. And I think the best way of doing that is through learning how to communicate and overcome objections, and making it as much of a win-win opportunity in every situation you're in. Just helps you get so much further in life. And so for me, we took that company from Texas over to Southern California. We ended up later selling that company, and got heavily involved in marketing. At that point really is what became the juice of my life and my career and everything from that point on.
So how did you get hooked up with Russell and get involved, choose to get involved with Clickfunnels?
Russell and I met so the time I had my own digital agency. It wasn't a digital agency, it actually was a physical agency at the time. I was doing a lot of direct response marketing, primarily for mortgage companies, insurance companies, financial services, things in that area. Mm-hmm. And it was, he and I were talking, I think it was 2000, must have been summer of 2007, I think is when we first met. And I actually met him at one of his own events. I was trying to figure out the whole digital thing, e-commerce, affiliate marketing was the thing at that point. And he and Stu McLaren actually happened to have an event going on, Southern California. So I thought, you know what, I'll go check this thing out. So I went there, and while I was there, I was just fast. I've heard, again, all these huge stories about people making money online. And I'm like, I don't believe these dollars. I don't believe these numbers. And so I thought, I'm just going to go figure this thing out. So I went, and literally he and Stu were just kind of getting their own things going. And at that time, they were putting on their event and said, hey, you know what, if you'd like to take us out to lunch or dinner and pick our brain, just go, sign up in the back. And so I literally ran to the back, and I signed up for every breakfast, lunch, and dinner that Russell had for the 3 days. And we started a friendship at that point that has lasted over a decade, and has been one of my dearest friends. We really, before becoming business partners, we literally just became great, great friends. He and his wife came out and celebrated their 10th anniversary in Southern California. So I set it all up for them. Anytime they're around, it's just, Russell is one of those guys who will literally give the shirt off his back. And again, just cares so much about people. And I felt that. I resonate with that. I enjoy working with people who have that same common bond. And because of that, we ended up doing, before ClickFunnels, we probably did 5 or 6 different business type of things together, whether it was in network marketing or real estate or fitness or a whole bunch of different things. Some of them worked, some of them didn't. But that's, part of the game. That's, I think, why so when ClickFunnels whole thing came around and he extended the invitation to me, we had known how each other worked. We knew each other's ethics. We knew each other, just everything. I've known his family by that time for quite some period of time. And it just became it was just a very easy thing to say yes to.
Now, you mentioned something, and this is huge. I think if anything that I know, ClickFunnels has changed more people's lives than anything else that I've ever been involved with or surrounded with. There's a lot of people who talk about it. I've experienced it. I've witnessed it. And you see it on the back end as far as the numbers is, what has that meant to you to see this personal transformations?
Gosh, I get chills every time someone asks that. I'm sitting here watching you with what I see basically is a big old X behind you, which is a symbol of our 8-figure award, having made over $10 million in a sales funnel. And that basically is paneled by 4 other 2 Comma Club awards, having each done over $1 million. And again, David, I look at you and your success, and again, kind of what you were talking about when we first started talking, and just trying to figure out this whole, certified partners thing in that period of time. And since then, you've gone on to create this massive agency that has provided. And I think for me, again, I look at you and I look at all that you've done and your success. And to me, that's just awe-inspiring. And I appreciate that so much. But what I appreciate even more is the lives that your business then represents. So yes, you definitely have taken ClickFunnels and have used it to your own benefit. But more importantly, you've blessed the lives of literally thousands, if not tens of thousands of doctors and others in multiple industries and fields whose business owners whose now lives are changed. I know you sit on the board of a couple of different companies now because of that. And so I sit back and I think, if ClickFunnels had a little tiny piece in that, then I'm forever eternally grateful just for the opportunity to have been involved, to say that we've played this little tiny piece that has let you grow on to create a massive, massive empire that is now blessing the lives of literally thousands and thousands of people.
Well, it's interesting. I just got chills myself, by the way, when you were saying that. There's 2 things. 3.5 years ago, Russell flew me out to Boise because I was giving you guys a testimonial.
Remember that? Yeah.
But the interesting thing was, I remember people were like, why are you taking the time out of your day? Why are you taking 2 days? And I'm like, he asked me, so I'm going to, the software's been beneficial. And if I can help him, and, I know that video probably helped you guys. And at the same time, I had no plan on being a ClickFunnels agency. And it's interesting. I had this conversation with someone yesterday. It was actually a relative. He's done very well, launched 2 companies that have grown to over half $500 million. And he's in his 70s now, and he's still an entrepreneur incubator. And this is the coolest thing. So he literally sits on the board of an entrepreneur incubator in Rochester, New York. And he, with hundreds of companies involved. And I was telling him what we do with ClickFunnels, and he invited me. He's like, will you come up and speak? Because I think that they need what you offer. And I said, but the interesting, this conversation was, he started asking about it. I said, he's like, what do you do? And I said, we do everything. ClickFunnels is the backbone. And by the way, ClickFunnels is the backbone to everything we do today. Okay. I have people who use other CRMs and things like that, but ClickFunnels is the backbone. And so we were talking to me, he's like, so what do you do? I said, the only way that I make money today is through helping other people change other people's lives. That's it.
Yeah.
If I can, this is a multiplier. This means that, to me, this means that lives were changed. That's when I have these back here, this is a reminder of who I'm speaking with. It's lives changed. And that's one thing that's really in the ClickFunnels community. I know this is you've got me nostalgic now. Because people in the ClickFunnels community are a different breed. It's not what I've heard as far as like other digital marketer networks, and I'm nothing against anyone, but it's not just about money. Everyone's talking about the impact, that what their programs are going to do, and how do they get this in more people's hands so that way they can touch more people's lives. And to me, that's everything.
No, David, I totally agree. It's we have our daily stand-up meeting at the end of it every day. We share, there's a story basically of some of our ClickFunnels users, and then we always end with what we do matters. And I think that's the part that matters most to me, is knowing that what we do literally matters on a daily basis. And again, it's fun to sit and talk about, you've got 88,000 customers and it's over $100 million, all these crazy numbers and all the accolades, all that's just awesome. But the part that I get most excited about is at the same time, there's over 500 people who've done over $1 million in a sales funnel, 38 have done over 10 million. But that's still the small part. The part that I get most excited about is when I see someone say, I made my first dollar online, my very first dollar. And I don't care if it's $1, I don't care if it's $100. I know that belief and that hope has now become real to them. And I don't know where it'll take them. I don't know what will happen next. But once you made your first dollar, it changed my life. And I think the part I get most excited about is seeing the lives of our customers being changed. It's just, again, it's a way of keeping score. It's a way of representing what's out there. But I think the part that just blows my mind away these days is they're at this point. I mean, if you were to try to sum up how many different people's lives have been touched by ClickFunnels, I mean, it's hundreds and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of lives.
I think it's millions, if not hundreds of millions.
And
the
long tail of it is just, and I think that's why, to me, it's been such a God-given gift and blessing in my life. I thank the Lord every day for it. It's neat for me to see we're just barely scratching the surface. There's so much more to actually go after and happen. But at the same time, what has happened so far is just, it's awe-inspiring to me.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I one of my clients, who's also a ClickFunnels client, she never did an event in her life. She had tried many funnels and nothing was ever successful. I remember the call I got from her the first time someone bought first time someone bought that she didn't know. She's like, oh my gosh, this works.
Oh yeah. It changed. It is the most mind-blowing experience when a person goes, oh my gosh, someone who doesn't even know me actually found my funnel and through my funnel bought my product and is using my product or my service. I mean, that's like giving birth. It's like your new child that is now taking legs and it's running. And it's just, it's the greatest experience in the world.
I mean, I experience it still to this day. I launched the new funnel. Ads went live last night. I had over 60 people already sign up. I don't know any of them.
That's so amazing.
I mean, it's still, and I'm like, why am I looking at it? I mean, everyone's like, why are you looking at this? Because it means that what I'm doing, because this funnel is just to add impact. Literally, how do they launch? How do they connect with their audience? And I still get excited about it.
I totally do. I love it every day.
So I have a question, and this is really important because it really is totally aligned with what I'm doing with our million follower challenge. Is you do everything. One of the things you at Funnel Hacking Live this year, you guys talked about was turning it in from traffic that you're buying into traffic that you own. And you guys, I know you invest a lot of money on online ads. I mean, I was there, years ago when I was at your offices, your old offices, going through what you guys were doing. Today, you guys are on podcasts, you're interviewed. You've got Funnel Hacker Live Radio. You guys are going live. Russell's going live. You're on Instagram. You're all over the place. You're on YouTube. If someone is just getting started, what would you say is a way that they can add the most impact and value if they don't have a big budget?
Oh, it's such a great question. I love this. I think the most important thing is I believe everybody has to publish. I'm a huge, huge advocate of publishing. And I think the main reason is it allows you to learn your voice. It allows you to figure out what it is you're going to do. And I think the great part about it is it allows you to document that process and realize, I know when a person's first getting started, the very first question everyone always tells me is, well, gosh, no one's going to listen to me. It doesn't matter. It's not, I did so many podcasts and Facebook Lives before. I hope no one was listening because I knew I sucked. I'm terrible. I didn't want anyone to listen. But I knew at the same time, that's the only way I was going to get better. And I think that the key to it, I tell anybody, is no matter what you're going to do, you have to publish. Now, the next question is, well, where do you publish? And a lot of it just depends on what you like. Take, for example, Julie Stoyan is a prolific writer. She loves to type and type and type and type, and she can crank out 2,000 words in 15 minutes. Just crazy, prolific writer. For me, that's not the case. I don't read many blogs. I'm not a big blogger type of person, but for me, I love this. I'll open my mouth and I'll talk and I'll do video and all that kind of stuff. So for me, a Facebook Live or Instagram story or a podcast is where that's where you will find me publishing. And I think that no matter, all of us find some avenue or venue that's easiest and best. I think for a lot of people, the easiest thing these days is Facebook Live or Instagram stories, whichever you prefer, just because you literally just have to turn your phone on, press live, and you're gone. You're going. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about post-production. You don't have to worry about notes and all that kind of stuff. So I would say that the key is just start publishing, document this process, tell people where you're at, what's going on. You literally you're a chapter ahead of somebody, and someone else is going to be looking to you for the inspiration, just like you're looking at someone else. And I think that the key is you've just got to get that message out there. And your message, I believe every single person has a message and you have a voice, and you've got to get that message out.
I agree. Thank you. Now, here's a question. One of the things that you've had an opportunity, I've seen a shift over the past 2 years, because you now have people who didn't have a business before to all of a sudden they're hitting $1 million a year, going up from there to 2 million or more. And you've experienced from, basically in 5 years from zero to over $100 million. What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned in scaling a company effectively?
Oh gosh, great question. There's quite a few. I can tell you, I think one of the biggest lessons that we learned really early on, and we were very fortunate, was the importance of hiring A players from the beginning. I think that when you're first getting started, it's really easy to think you're going to be cheap when it comes to hiring. That will cost you more than anything else long-term. Of all the investments you make as a business owner, the most critical investment is in the people that you bring on. And so I would say, again, if you're first starting, the very first hire you should ever make is going to be an assistant. You need an assistant right away. You got to be able to, you got to stop doing the stuff that you should pay other people to do. And then from there, the very next hire is whatever it is that you don't like to do, and make sure that someone else is doing that kind of stuff. But I would say hiring A players for us was probably one of the most critical things. And I think then with that is learning how to lead and to delegate. It's not as much of a natural thing as a lot of people think. And for most entrepreneurs, it's one of the hardest things, is because you're used to doing it all yourself. And you know that they're probably not going to do it as good as you, but that's okay. They may actually end up doing better than you in that one area, and then it allows you to go on. So I'd say hiring is by far the most important thing. Second thing would be learning leadership skills and develop leadership opportunities. Third thing is becoming a great storyteller. It's something I'm continually always trying to work on. I think that storytelling is by far one of the lost arts these days. And I think as you start finding the more social media and things you pay attention to, what really captivates most people are the stories. And so the better that you are at telling stories and really eliciting emotion from people and then causing people to actually take action on that emotion, that's the next main thing. And that's for us. I was super fortunate that Russell is an amazing storyteller. It's really what helped us propel and to scale very quickly. Beyond that, I think the fourth one I would say is to realize you've got to focus more on the who and not the how. We talked a lot about this at Funnel Hacking Live last year, and that is so often we focus so much on trying to learn how to do every single thing, and you want to do it all. And I think it's the thing that slows down most businesses is realizing that as the business owner, I look at, when you look at people, there's typically three types of people. You've got the people who are the doers, you have the managers, and you have the visionaries. Typically the entrepreneur is going to be the visionary. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, so often that visionary person gets focused on the doing aspect. I know I've struggled with that a ton myself for years. And you've got to find a way of getting out of the doing, and you very soon become the manager, and then you've got to get to that visionary, and you've got to establish that visionary aspect. And for me, the best way of doing that is really focusing on the who, not the how, and stop trying to learn how to do every single thing and find out who's the very best person and then pay them for that. So those would be some of the four things. If a fifth thing on there, I would literally say is you got to work. You got to put in the time. It's so often I hear a lot of people saying, well, gosh, I look forward to, retiring and when life gets easy and stuff. And I'm like, easy's never been something I've been after in my life. I think you grow through hard times, and as soon as you grow and you build up those muscles, you then get to take on that next struggle. I know you're a big CrossFitter, and I think that's the big thing with CrossFit is you've always got a challenge. You've got that next thing, and it's not. I think that's what motivates people is if you start looking for the easy road all the time, you just get soft.
You bring up a really good point. And I think that there's two different people out there. It's sort of like the Gary V's hustle, hustle, hustle. And then there's work-life balance. And people can criticize me. I think balance is boring. I put a lot of time in, and like, whether it's having a talk with you, Dave, or working with clients, I'm sometimes in 18 plus hours a day.
Oh yeah.
But it doesn't seem like, and I'm 50 years old, and, I'm working more now than I did back then. I'm having more fun now. So the reason I tell people, if they feel like they have to, I want to be done at 3:00 so I go surfing every day. It's a very different type of business, and it's going to take longer to get traction and scale because you got to put that work in order to get noticed. Very rarely overnight success happens right away. It's that 5 to 10 to 15 years of putting yourself out there and building relationships. Would you agree?
I totally do. Life is a relationship business. It just is. And I think I attribute a lot of the success that we've had to literally having spent years digging wells of relationships before we ever, and having had a lot of ups and downs where sometimes those wells got filled in because people are like, there's just no water there. But I think the key for us actually is just, I'm just such a huge believer in the fact that the deeper those relationships are with people, the greater life just becomes that much more satisfying, that much more fulfilling. And I think the part I enjoy the most as I take a look back over the years we've been doing this is to see those people who are still at their game, who are still improving their craft, who are still working at it, who are still trying to get better and are trying to be relevant. You stop growing, you stop being relevant. And I think too often people get lazy, and the nice thing about the whole internet stuff is you can make a lot of money. You really can. And relatively in a pretty quick space in comparison to some other things. Mm-hmm. And I'm a huge believer. I agree with what you said as well, but again, balance. I don't believe in balance. I think I'm all in on one thing or the other. When I'm at work, I'm all in at work. And when I'm home, I'm all in with my family. And when I'm at church, I'm all in at church. And when I'm working out, I'm all in working out. I think it's just all about focus, and that I'm sure my wife would probably disagree and say that I need to spend more time at home, but I'm kind of like you. I just love what I do.
And we're both blessed with wives. I'm coming up on 25 years in marriage in October, and we've been together over 30 years. So
congratulations.
Thank you. I can relate. And I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't have the support of my wife.
Same here for sure.
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
My business is what it is because she's the biggest support and rock.
Yeah.
The interesting thing when we look at entrepreneurs that are just getting started, you're right. Digital marketing and having a product like Clickfunnels gives you the utmost in leverage and opportunity. So I know we're bumping up on time right now. So I'm going to leave it like this. What is one closing piece of advice that you haven't shared with anyone in any other interview that you would want to give someone listening to this on what they can do to have the success they desire?
God. I think I would probably say work as if everything depends on you, and pray as everything depends on the God.
I love it. So one thing that most people don't talk about on these kind of podcasts is there's someone else up there who's guiding all of us. And I believe, just like you, trust in him, and everything will work out.
I totally agree with you.
I think that's a great place to end today. So Dave Woodward, thank you for being here. Thank you everyone for tuning in, watching, and listening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.